So we'll see, maybe
We're on.
we'll see how much we'll say tonight.
All right, well, you might ask
You
people.
tell me when.
It's on. You're on.
Oh.
I'm not hooking you up today.
Oh, there's no video tonight?
No. Oh, no, there is video tonight, except I'm not thrilled. I think there's a problem with the audio jack. The video, the audio from last week's video is all staticky, but I have the backup and I just haven't put them together. So I'm going to take the audio, because He Who Laughs Last has a backup. I'll eventually use last week's audio to overdub last week's video.
Okay, sounds
audio.
good to me.
It's a small enough shiur. Why don't you ask people, if you can't make it, email me by 2 or 3
Yeah,
p.m.
no, I
so
would like it to be consistent.
Yeah.
It's important in consistency.
Okay.
But we'll see how much we'll teach tonight. I heard from the Chaim Shapiro, Zechron Livracha, told a wonderful story that this rabbi was a guest speaker in the shul, and it was a terrible storm outside. And of course he got there, but nobody else, except for one other person in the audience. So the rabbi, they're waiting, nobody's coming. So he goes over to the person and he says, listen, weather is shreklach, I'm tired, you had a long, hard day working. Why don't we both just go home?
he said no.
So the person says, Rabbi, I'm a simple farmer, and I don't know much, but I know if I take a wagon load of hay out to the field to feed my cows, and I only find one cow, am I going to go home and not feed the cow? So the rabbi says, you're 100% right. And he gets up there and the pulpit, and he gives his drasha, and he screams as if there were 500 people there. And he's dripping sweat, and after the hour-long drasha, he goes over to the person and says, is that okay? And the person says, Rabbi, I'm just a simple farmer. And all I know is that if I go out to the field to feed my cows with a wagon load of hay, and I only find one cow, I sure ain't going to feed it the whole wagon load. It's a great story.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the guests. How was your trip to Eretz? That's a silly question, right?
We cut it short because we had to
Always
come
go
back.
What?
We cut it short.
Cut it short to come back to the
No,
shiur.
but you were there by the storm.
Not by the storm, in the storm.
How fun.
Okay,
We almost didn't make it.
so we're Perek test. Let's see what we can do with Perek test. I apologize beforehand if I'm not at my best. We just came back from the East Coast, and it's late at night for me. I'm delayed after delayed after delayed. Okay. So what happened here, this is where Perek test. This is the Perek after Eliyahu does all the wonderful things on Carmel. And we'll run through the Perek. We'll do it maybe perhaps piecemeal. And the Perek begins with Izebel. Izebel sending a message to Eliyahu. And she swears. She says, Ka'es mochor, if you look at Pasuk Beis, Ka'es mochor, at this time tomorrow, Osim es nafshecho kenefesh achad mehem. I am going to place your life like the life of the Nevi'ei Baal that you killed. Basically, she says, tomorrow at this time we're going to have you killed. And Eliyahu runs for his life. It says, Vayar vayokam vayelech el nafshe. He ran for his life. Right. What's going on over here? Why is he suddenly afraid? Yesterday he wasn't afraid. What he did on Har Carmel. He stands up one man against the 400 Nevi'ei Baal on Har Carmel. Achav's there, probably with a significant regiment of soldiers. Eliyahu was totally fearless, and all of a sudden, this next day, he's running for his life from Izebel. So I heard this from Rabbi Yaakov Weinberg, and it's so emes. He says, how come Izebel told him, Ke'es mochor, tomorrow I'll kill you? She sends a messenger to him, says, tomorrow I'm going to have you killed. Right? Why can't she say, I'm have you killed today? And why didn't she send a platoon of soldiers to have him killed now? So Rabbi Weinberg said, because she knew that Eliyahu had the populace in the palm of his hands. She knew that Eliyahu was untouchable. What he did on Har Carmel, get everybody here to scream, Hashem hu Elokim, Hashem hu Elokim. Right? You can't touch this man. He's untouchable. But she tells Eliyahu, you know perfectly well, tonight people are going to sleep. And tomorrow is a distant memory. Tomorrow is a distant memory because the inspirations and the hargoshas that people have dissipates very, very quickly. And maybe Machar doesn't mean actually tomorrow, but she says, I'm going to get you because you're not going to be a hero for too long because people forget and people lose the inspiration that they give. It's mamish emes, so emes.
So since she wanted to kill him, they both knew this, why did she warn him?
What?
Why send him the message? Why warn him?
That's it's an interesting observation. I think it's a good observation. Perhaps she preferred that he flee than kill him. Much more politically correct. Maybe that's what she really wanted from him. Yeah, Michael, you want to say something?
Don't the Nevi'im have some sort of immunity to being just...
Not at all. Not at all. As a matter of fact, when the Gemara learns out the rule of shluchei mitzvah eino nizokin, right? Shluchei mitzvah, no. But hecha the shchiach hazeker shining. But if it's a common danger, if it's an obvious danger, we don't say shluchei mitzvah eino nizokin. They're not protected. The Gemara learns it out when Hashem tells Shmuel to go to Beis Lechem and anoint one of Yishai's sons, instead of Shaul, Shmuel says, Shaul's going to kill me. How can you tell me to go? The Gemara learns out from there that even the commandment from Hashem, if it's Shchiach Hezekah, you're in danger.
So why give people money when they fly in a plane? That's
what?
That's Shchiach Hezekah.
It's not Shchiach Hezekah. That's not Shchiach Hezekah. You give somebody money, you give somebody who's hang gliding, okay, maybe not.
But you're saying, but flying a plane is not.
If it was Shchiach Hezekah, you wouldn't be allowed to go.
No, but you see that Moshe held that you still have to say, the bracha.
That you can't say that. You can't say that for the four things for which you bench Goimel.
Yeah.
Right? And you can't say that you weren't allowed to do them. I mean, okay, some of them we have no choice. A person's put into prison by the government. A person he takes sick. You have no choice. But somebody who goes into Midbar, goes to the sea. I mean, you have to say he was allowed to do it. Because people do it. It's Dashber, and
But he says the acid test is if basically the plane, like in a boat, if the boat wouldn't be there, the person wouldn't be able to survive.
You're in a matzav of sakana.
Right, and the same thing with the plane wouldn't be there, you'd be in a matzav of sakana.
But I think the litmus test is, were you allowed to do it? If you were allowed to do it,
I see.
okay, but if somebody would say, is it safe for me to commit treason against the king? It was a vis meshugit.
Right.
The king finds out you're dead.
Right.
So you can't say shluchim mitzvah no nisik. I'll tell you, I had some good prognosis from this word of Rabbi Yaakov Weinberg. I'll tell you, hold this may be emes. The Sefer HaChinuch asks two famous kashas about Sfiras HaOmer. He says, question number one is, why are we counting up rather than down? Normally when you're counting towards an event, you count down. You say 49 days to, this is the season, how many shopping days left, lahavdil, right? So it should be 49 days left, 48 days left, etc. Secondly, he says, how can we start the second day of Pesach? It's counting from Yetzias Mitzrayim till you should count from the first day. So, with this insight from Yaakov Weinberg, I want to say as follows. When we stood at Har Sinai, what was the first thing we heard from HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Anochi Hashem Elokecha, asher hotzeisecha me'eretz Mitzrayim. That's the first thing. Right? The Torah is introduced by Hashem. You all heard of him. I am the God that took you out of Mitzrayim. We had to be at Matan Torah feeling that we just went out of Mitzrayim. We're talking to the one who redeemed, we're listening to the one who redeemed us from Mitzrayim. Ideally, Kadosh Baruch Hu should have taken us from Yam Suf straight to Har Sinai. From all the Nisa Mitzrayim, we should have straight to Har Sinai, but we couldn't because we were Shulku and the Memte Shari Tuma of Mitzrayim. And we needed the 49 days of purification, the 7 weeks of purification before we could do that. There's a danger. The danger is the danger that Rabbi Yaakov Weinberg just said. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Anochi Hashem Elokecha asher hotzeisecha me'eretz Mitzrayim, What was that? When was that? What happened then? Oh yeah, that was. Oh yeah, I think I remember. Those were great tricks that God did. But we had to come with the emotions that we were just nig out, the feeling of geula. We would just nig out from Mitzrayim. The avodah of the 7 weeks was to retain that feeling. Right? So in Mela we're counting. Right? This is 1 day from Yetzias Mitzrayim. This is 2 days from Yetzias Mitzrayim. This is the 3rd day, and I still remember Yetzias Mitzrayim. Look, Yetzias Mitzrayim. How much of the Torah is Zecher Yetzias Mitzrayim is we have to wear it on our sleeve. So it's not counting down to Ma'at Torah as much as remembering Yetzias Mitzrayim. You don't have to start doing that till Machar, till the next day. That answers the second kasha too. Yeah, the day it happens, you don't forget. It's only when you wake up the next morning that you forget. That's when you have to start working on internalizing and remembering. I had good parnasa from this work. Okay, let's go further. So what happens is he runs and he goes to Beersheba, which is interesting. Why does he go to Beersheba? Beersheba is in the Nachal of Yehuda. Beersheba is in Yehuda, so he's safe there from Achav and Izebel. He's in safe territory. It says Beferish, the Navi emphasizes in Pasuk Gimel, Vayova Beersheba Asher Yehuda. Now comes, what's he doing afterwards? Then Vayanach is Naresham, he leaves his attendant there, and he goes into the Midbar. He goes into the Midbar. Right? Why is he going to the Midbar? So some of the Rishonim actually say that, very, very logical thing, that he didn't feel 100% safe even in Yehuda. Achav and Izebel, but they were actually on quite good terms with the government of, as we know, of Yehuda. They could have sent assassins in to get him. He didn't feel completely safe. He went into the Midbar. Eliyahu knew how to hide. Right? He knew how to hide. So that's the way some learn. The Malbim learns differently, and I think it fits a lot better into the whole very, very not so pashut story over here. He said Eliyahu was very frustrated. As you see, he tells the Kodesh Baruch Hu one day, right? He's very frustrated, and he says enough of dealing with the people. So I did this big miracle on Har Carmel. What kind of a lasting effect is it going to have? Nevi'im, especially Eliyahu Hanavi, who appears from time to time, spent most of his life, most recent life, with his Baidadus in the Midbar, elevating his neshama to the perfection that it eventually achieved, that Mamish went up with Chaim into Gan Eden. And this is what he wanted, to go into the Midbar and commune with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. I don't want to deal with the people anymore. I mean, especially if you hold Eliyahu as Pinchas. He was quite miraculously old, but whether it was Pinchas or it wasn't Pinchas, but clearly especially if he was Pinchas, it makes sense. And we learned before that it's machlokes if he was Pinchas. If he wasn't a Kayin, he couldn't have been Pinchas. Right? So machlokes if he was a Kayin. So he's going for his bodidus. He's finished with his shlichus. How many times have we encountered, somebody who's been the Rebbe for 45 years? He says, that's it, I've had it. I'm going to Yerushalayim, I'm going to sit and learn. That's it, enough with kids who don't listen to me. I'm going to sit and learn. It's similarly, this is what Eliyahu is doing. He wants to commune with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the way the Malbim understands it. Okay, take a look at Pasuk Tes. So, before we get to Pasuk Tes, just run through the thing. So he goes into the Midbar 1 day into the Midbar, and he falls asleep, and the Malach gives him to eat of some miraculous food, ugas ritzofim, which is a cake baked on coals, and some parchas of mayim, and he goes to sleep again. The Malach wakes him up, and he says, okay, go. And he goes b'koach ba'achila hahi for 40 days and 40 nights. And where does he end up? Ad harhu elokim chayriv. He ends up at Har Sinai. He ends up at Har Sinai. And look at Pasuk Tes. It's very, very important. Pasuk Vayavo Shem al HaMa'orah. He comes into the cave. Doesn't say El Ma'orah. Into the cave, a known cave. This is the cave. This was the cleft in the rock where Moshe Rabbeinu was. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to him. And where Moshe Rabbeinu, what's most important for our story, where Moshe Rabbeinu was mispalel for Klal Yisrael, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should forgive the Chet HaEgel. And he says, if not, then kill me. Right? So Moshe Rabbeinu says, over my dead body to destroy Klal Yisrael. It was in that Ma'orah. Vayolan Sham, and he goes to sleep there. And he has a nevuah.
I'm sorry to bother you again, but I mean,
Okay.
he's on the run. He just now killed 400 priests of Baal, right? So he has a koyach to do things to people that, right? So why couldn't he use his koyach to get rid of this Izebel? I mean, or others like her that were basically pursuing him. I mean, what? I mean, it's not like he's a nobody. I mean, he's obviously a navi of.
Okay, so Pasuk says he ran for his life.
The night before he put to death hundreds of people.
He ran for his life. He ran for his life. He was on the shlichus. And you weren't here. This is not a criticism. You weren't here last shiur, but last week's shiur. But there's a machlokes. If what Eliyahu did on Har Carmel, he did b'shlichus HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him in the nevuah, do this.
Right.
If that's the case, it's easier to understand the difference between yesterday and today.
Right.
But there are many Rishonim that say he did it on his own.
Which is a bigger problem.
Which makes your question bigger. Why is he suddenly
On the run.
Why is he suddenly on the road? Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Deal with it. Okay. But look at the end of Pasuk Tes. And this is the question. Vayomer lo ma lecha po Eliyahu. Eliyahu, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? Malach Eliyahu. So you take a look, for those of you who have the booklets, on page 52. You want to run to my office? Okay. Okay.
Shall I get one?
What?
Shall I get one?
No, it's okay. So in the middle of the page, you see you have the Malbim. You have the Malbim. So on Pasuk Tes. Malbim on Pasuk Tes. Right? Malachopo, Ratzaloma, Halo Hanavi Tzarch Shimatze Ben Ha'am. You should be among the people, Lahochiach, to rebuke, the Lenavos, and to prophesy. Loshi is Boded Bamidbaru Vahorim. Not to be alone in the wilderness and in the mountains. What are you doing here, Eliyahu? I thought you worked for a living. You're an Avi. You had a mission. What are you, Malachopo Eliyahu? So what's Eliyahu's answer, which is so similar to Pinchas's statement, Vayomar Kano Kinesi Lashem Elokei Tzuvokos. Kano Kinesi, I'm zealous. Ki Ozvu Berischa B'nai Yisrael. They have abrogated the covenant. As Mizbechosecha Harasu, they have destroyed your Mizbechos. V'yecha Horgu Bechorev. V'avaser Ani Lavadi. I'm the only one left who's at all functional. We know there were 100 Nevi'im that Ovadia was writing out. Vayavakshu es nafshi lakachto. And they want to take my life. Yeah? They want to take my life. So, let us HaKadosh Baruch Hu tell him. He says, okay, this is what I'm telling you. Stand by the mountain, and first thing, and stand by the mountain, and Hashem over. And Hashem, meaning I'm going to pass by you. You'll see. So the first thing that happens is a tremendous wind comes by. And lo and behold, Hashem is not Lo Baruch Hashem, very famous part of Navi. And after the Ruach comes a Rash, comes an earthquake, trembling. And Lo Barash Hashem, Hashem is not in the Rash. And V'yachar Harash comes Eish. And Lo Va'esh Hashem. V'yachar ha'esh, and after the fire comes kol d'momadaka, a soft sound. And that's where Hashem was. Now, before we go further, you have to know there's such a dichotomy of approach over here about what this was all about. The Radak says clearly that this was a tremendous reward to Eliyahu for all his years of good service and his zealousness and his kinnah to Hashem, just like Pinchas, if it was Eliyahu, or just like Pinchas was rewarded for his kinnah, for his kanos, right? So too Eliyahu was rewarded. How was he rewarded? He was rewarded. This is the Eliyahu who is seeking to become as close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu as possible. He's seeking the highest level of spirituality, and the Radak says that Hashem rewards him by treating him like Moshe Rabbeinu. For 40 days and 40 nights, he does not have to eat like Moshe Rabbeinu. For 40 days and 40 nights, he ends up in Har Chodev in the same Ma'orah Moshe Rabbeinu, and the visions and the experiences on the level of Nevuah that he had was close to that of Moshe Rabbeinu. And it says he took his deres and he covered his face. I mean, he was just, the Radak learns this was a reward to Eliyahu Hanavi for all of his zealousness. Okay, that's the way the Radak learns. Most Rishonim don't learn that way. Most Rishonim learn that this was a rebuke. It was a rebuke to Eliyahu. And the rebuke is, Eliyahu, you're all fire and brimstone. Right? You're kanoi kinesi. It's not the way. It's not the way. You need a kol d'mobedako. I need Nevi'im who are going to teach Torah, Nevi'im who are going to speak softly and be mashpia on the people, not whack them every time they do anything wrong. This was a rebuke to Hashem, to Eliyahu. And many Rishonim learn this. I would say most Rishonim learn this way. The Malbim clearly learns this way, and the way the Malbim learns this way, let's continue. Let's continue. Look at Pasuk. If you have the code, the Mamadako, in Pasuk Yud Gimel, Vayikesh Moed, Eliyahu hears this code, the Mamadako. Vayolet Panav Bi'adarto, he took his mantle, his cloak, covered his face. Vayetze Vayamod Pesach HaMeorah, he stood at the Pesach of the Meorah, V'hinei Elov Kol, and he heard the sound. And what did the sound say? Vayom Malacha Po Eliyahu. Same question, second time. All right. So look at the Malbim on Pasuk, Yud Gimel. Shal Osa Shenis Malacha Po. Umandua Ein Choshav El Shlichuska. Why don't you go back to your mission, L'nabos, to prophesize, Ulhochiach, and to rebuke below Kinov Arash, without Kinov Arash. Right? And the way the Malbim understands it, Eliyahu's answer is Vayomer Kanoi Kinesi Lashem Elokei Tzavaka. It's the exact same words again. I can't. I can't. Sorry, I can't. Too zealous. Wrong guy. Need somebody else for the job. And then Kadosh Baruch Hu says, okay, we're going to appoint Elisha. We're going to appoint Elisha. Time to pass the mantle. And indeed, we'll see soon that Kadosh Baruch Hu, this is when the Kadosh Baruch Hu, in a few program from now, Kadosh Baruch Hu takes Eliyahu up to the Shemayim in the fiery chariots. That's the way the Malbim learns.
So even if you hold that this was a job that Hashem gave him,
right?
So the dissatisfaction is the way he did it, the way he conducted it.
I would say the way I would understand it is that it had to be followed with the Kol D'Mamadako. I mean, there is a Ruach and there is a Rash and there is a Nesh, but it has to be followed with the Kol D'Mamadako. See, I think the simple understanding, like obviously there's very deep things going on in this Perek, but I think the simplest way that I would understand it, and I didn't see any of the Rishonim say this, but it seems to me that, especially we're living at a time where we're humbled by the forces of nature. With all of the technology and all of the phenomenal power that a human being, with the Chokhmah that Kadosh Baruch Hu bestowed us, can unleash. Right? But there's nothing we could do against a tsunami, nothing we could do against a hurricane, nothing we could do against earthquakes. And the forces of nature are show HaKadosh Baruch Hu's tremendous power. And this is one of the methods of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to gain our attention. The wake-up calls of the Ruach and the Rosh and the Eish, these are all tremendous wake-up calls from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but they have to be followed by Kol Mamadaka. They have to be followed by, okay, now that you got a wake-up call, now, we need a Navi that's going to come and cultivate us after our being humbled. I think it's just a simple, perhaps a little bit too simple, shot in what's going on here. Yes, here.
We had a previous occupant of the crevice in the rock, it was Moshe Rabbeinu, who also denied, saying, no, I'm not the one to send to Mitzrayim to talk to Pharaoh.
Right.
Until eventually, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, okay, we'll send your brother Aaron to do this stuff. Why take away Eliyahu as opposed to saying, okay, you'll accompany Elisha, and he'll be the one who's the soft-spoken. But there's a parallel here.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu accepted the fact that this Eliyahu didn't want to be in this world anymore in human form. I don't blame him, especially if it was Pinchas. I don't blame him. I saw brought down from the Baal Tanya, interesting, that the Ruach, the Rosh, and the Ruach, the Rosh, and the Eish are really hosts of Malachim. Right? We say, Akdishli Eitzram B'nachas Ruach. Rashi says they're hosts of Malachim, but what we find, B'nachas Ruach, that Malachim B'nachas Ruach, as we call Ra'ash Goda. Right? This is the way the Malachim do it. Eish is clearly the Srafim. Srafim, by definition, that's what the word means. The definition is so what's the Kol Demama Daka, the Baal Tanya says, I just saw this brought down, because it's probably a very, very big piece, that the Kol Demama Daka is Torah. It's the teaching of Torah. That's the Kol Demama Daka. And that it's really the job of the Malachim. I use the Malachim, this fits in with the simple pshat that I said. The Malachim who are in charge of the Ruach and the Rosh and the Eish, right, they'll get your attention, but ultimately we need the Kol Demama Daka, the soft, the Rocheha Darchi Noyam, B'chol Mesivta Sholom, voice of Torah. So I was thinking that perhaps, I wouldn't be surprised if Baal Tanya said this because it's just an excerpt, but it follows logically that that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes Eliyahu Navi away, how do we always relate to Eliyahu Navi's mission in the future? Right? The first thing that we know is Tekel. Tishbi Yitarish Kushetz Rebayis. He's coming to teach Torah. Right? So for this generation, he can't do it. But the Tikkun, Eliyahu Navi comes back to herald in the era of Tikkun, Mashiach. And perhaps that's his own personal Tikkun also, that he's coming now to teach Torah. He's also coming, he's coming after perhaps the perfection that Eliyahu's neshama is going through during all this time. He's able to come back with the mission that HaKadosh Baruch Hu originally intended him to do, that he saw at Har Sinai. Perhaps. I mean, obviously there are a lot of deep things going on here.
Since Rashi says he was Makatrik on the Gal Yisrael, so he comes to every bris.
Oh, okay, all right. So,
did I miss that? I'm sorry.
No, we didn't get there yet.
Oh.
We didn't get there yet. We'll get there in a minute. So the Radvaz in the Shalos Yeshuvas is an interesting question. We all know that Har Sinai, after Matan Torah, had no Kedusha whatsoever. Right? It's not a Mokum Kadosh at all, Har Sinai. So what was the significance of taking Eliyahu Har Sinai to show him these visions over there. It's not when Moshe Rabbeinu was there, it had the Shekhinah was there. It had its kedusha. Why this remake of that? So he says that Kadosh Baruch Hu was hoping that the experience would evoke in him the Moshe Rabbeinu's tefillah to save Klal Yisrael. It would temper the kindah, because this was the makom where Moshe Rabbeinu was mispalel, that Kadosh Baruch Hu Rachmanus and Klal Yisrael, where Eliyahu was looking to be makatreg, to be a prosecuting attorney in Klal Yisrael. And at that point it didn't help. Kanoi kinesim, it's a difficult thing. What Mrs. Kester said before, if you take a look towards the bottom of the page, Eliyahu Malach Habris, bottom of the page on page 52, is from the Torah. The Torah says, "No again al pi ha-medrash." According to Medrash, we have a minhag lasos kisei leEliyahu, to make a kisei for Eliyahu at every bris. Al she'omar, because Eliyahu said in Melachim Aleph Perek Yutes, "Kanoi kinesi l'Hashem ki ovru berisko beis Yisrael," because they transgressed your bris. So because he was, so Omar Leah Kadosh Baruch Hu, Chayecho, I swear by your life, she'ein oisim bris milah, that the people will not do a bris milah, ad shetira be'einecha, until you'll see it with your own eyes. Mikan hiskilu chachamim, here the chachamim established lasas kisei leEliyahu, shehu nikra, he is called Malach HaBris. Now, the Sma in the Prisha, one of the Mefarshim, one of the earliest Mefarshim on the Torah, he says that he saw Pshat, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this is sort of a punishment on there for Eliyahu. Eliyahu, you think the Jews are transgressing the bris? I'm going to make you go hit every bris. Right? You have to go bagels and loxes and I'm having your ears. You know, the preacher says he believes he can't say that. He can't say that this is a punishment for Eliyahu. He says just the opposite. What the Midrash means is that this was a reward for his zealousness. Right? It bothered him so much that they would be over the bris. That's a reward for him that he should share in the nachas. It bothered him so much that he should share in the nachas. That's the way the Prisha understands this medrash, rather than, you know, okay, it's a kisei Eliyahu Hanavi. You see, yeah, don't be makatreg anymore. Chas v'chalila. Eliyahu Hanavi Adarabi, because of his zealousness, because of his kinam of the bris. That's why we. Okay, so what happens at the end of this perek? And I think I'm falling asleep. So we have to see what happens at the end of this perek, and then, because it's not going to come true in its fullest sense, and it's important for us to understand why not. But what HaKadosh Baruch Hu then says to Eliyahu, okay, you have another. Your mission is not over. This is what you have to do. Right? I want you to go Lech Shuv L'Darkecho, Midbar Damesek, go to the wilderness of Damesek. He's sending him from Har Chorev, which who knows where it is, but it's somewhere in the Sinai Peninsula, probably, all the way up to Damascus.
It's pretty far.
What?
It's pretty far.
Pretty far. Yeah. Uvasa umashaptes kazoy lemelech alarom. Very, very unusual. Because basically, he's having Eliyahu appoint the person who is going to punish the 10 tribes. Because it's Aram that's going to punish, who is going to punish the 10 tribes, and it's the Aram who is going to kill Achov actually in battle, and you're to anoint Chazoel to be king of Aram. It's very strange that a Jewish Navi will go and anoint, but nothing happens without Kadosh Baruch Hu. Somebody becomes king of our enemy. It's only because Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted him to be. And the next thing you're to do is Yehu ben Nimshi, Timshach lemelech al Yisrael. Because what happens, Yehu ben Nimshi goes and he assassinates the rest of Achav's family. Anoint him. He's going to be the king of Yisrael. And finally, and this is the only thing that Eliyahu ends up doing by himself, as Elisha ben Shaphat me'ovel machola timshach l'novi tachtecha. Elisha is Ben Shaphat. You should anoint, and all the Mepharshim say anointing here is not literal. It means you should appoint as a Navi instead of you. And whoever is going to escape from Chazoyo's sword, Yehu will kill, and whoever will escape from Yehu's sword, Elisha will kill. Now, all of a sudden, Elisha is a tough guy. I thought Elisha is going to. Okay, so we have to wait and see what happens there with Elisha. You have to have a little patience. But basically, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that he's going to really whack the 10 tribes. So look at Pasuk Yutes. We'll read from here to the end of the Perek. Vayelech Misham, Vayimtzes Elisha ben Shaphat. Eliyahu encounters Elisha ben Shaphat, who was farming. V'hu choresh neim asar tzmadim lefanav. V'hu b'shneim ha'asar. Right? Elisha was in charge of 12 plows, and he himself was manning the 12th plow. Everybody, of course, says that this is a simon for the Yud Shifta Yisrael. Vayavar Eliyahu Elav vayashlech adarto Elav. And Eliyahu threw his mantle onto Elisha. Some say he just passed by and had the mantle over him, didn't actually take it off and throw, because Eliyahu ends up with his Aderes Eliyahu he still has. He didn't give it to Elisha. Vayazov es Abakar, and Elisha left the oxen. Vayoretz acharei Eliyahu, and he followed Eliyahu. Vayomer, and he says, Eshaka no lavi limi, let me kiss my father and mother. V'yelcha acharecha, and I'm going to go after you. Vayomer lo lech shuv ki ma asisi lach. No, go back. Now, obviously, he just came to him and basically threw his mantle on him, which means follow me. But he's making sure he really wants to come. So Vayashav me'acharav vayikach esem et habakar. He took a pair of oxen vayizbacheu, and they made a barbecue. V'chli habakar bishlam habasar vayitein lo am vayachelu. This I guess was a goodbye party for everybody. Vayakam vayelech acharei Eliyahu vayashoresehu, and he served with Eliyahu. And it's interesting that now we're going to for the next several prakim, Eliyahu disappears. Eliyahu disappears from the scene. He's only going to come back to us actually in the beginning of Melachim days, which is only 3 more prakim. And this is a very difficult Perek to really understand what this vision was that Eliyahu. But you do see, no matter what you say, the Madrega that Eliyahu Hanavi was on before he was taken up to the Shemayim was similar Madrega to Moshe Rabbeinu. And the ability to live for 40 days and 40 nights without food, and that whole vision that he had on Sinai. Probably, my guess would be that there have been more drushas by rabbis said on the God is not in the Ruach, God is not in the Rosh, God is not in the Eish, than any other part of Torah, any other part of Tanakh. So it's not simple what it means, but we know it means something very, very deep, very deep. And, okay.
Have a good night's sleep. Thank you so much.
We're going to try.
Thank you.
Good night. When do you get back?